Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting of the Oregon Municipal Airport Authority to order. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 26th meeting? Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 2 is airport vouchers totaling $323,452.49. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, on the Flint group, that's quite a bit larger expenditure than
That's the next item.
oh, that's the next item. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yep, we have a motion and a second to approve the airport vouchers. Yes.
So we'll have discussion after a motion in a second. I think the only thing I was gonna point out is, I think, Sean, that $139,000 expenditure, that Vetro fluid, was that what we're talking about, that they're gonna try and put that over the concrete to preserve it?
Right.
Okay, cool.
We actually got a pretty significant discount by paying it within 10 days. Was it 4%? We saved
$5,800.
$5,800.
So just kind of a little background, we had kind of a brown bag lunch with some of the different chief pilots for the different businesses this week. And one of their main concerns is they call it FOD, foreign object debris, which is little particles of gravel and broken concrete that can kind of get sucked up into an engine and destroy the engine. So this was a creative way of maybe getting more life out of some of our concrete to put this filament over there to kind of preserve it more. So
They're doing it today, Darren. Today? They're doing it today.
anyway,
All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. We have individual vouchers, A through H.
motion.
Is there a second?
I have a question about the number D.
We need a second and we'll have discussion.
Well, I'm just wondering, I wonder if anyone wants to pull one off, do we vote on all the rest first?
Yeah, we can do that or we can pull one off and discuss it.
So I'll second it.
Okay.
Everyone do
We
it.
have a motion and a second. Are there individual items within those individual vouchers that we'd like to talk about?
I
I
just,
think we're ready to go.
I had a question, so, I mean, we've talked about Flint in the past, and so during the August meeting, we were supposed to have a roundtable, and I had an email stating, with stakeholders, and then Kelsey texted me on August 31st and said, Jody's putting together a plan for the board to review in the next meeting. This was August 31st. We will know more after that if Hector will retain Flint services and what the next steps are. Then I see a $42,000 expenditure. I didn't go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, of course, but one of the things, I had just picked out one of the items. It was, let's see. It was regarding invoice number 20337 for $4,500 for public relations. So I just said, what is, what a little bit more itemization or a little more description on that. And so Kelsey replied right away, which I appreciate. And one of the things was a landline Grand Forks press release. Why are we paying for a landline Grand Forks press release?
Because the passengers come here.
So we're just saying,
Explaining the Fargo service, so all of those passengers come in and get
So Sean, did originate your bus trip to Grand Forks?
or
was Grand Forks, Fargo?
They come here, they get off the bus, they decided they're gonna get out in cities or get out in the cities.
okay. And why wouldn't landline, I know that landline is another client of Flint. Why would they be?
Sure, but they do their own marketing as well.
Okay. So just questioning like why we need to promote landline's additional services, because truly landline came here hopefully as a segue to get,
It's bringing passengers here. To the airport.
just questioning the Grand Forks portion of it.
To the Parker Airport.
Okay.
For passengers.
Alright,
So where do they originate? Grand Forks?
Luckily, some of you in the campus,
so,
and they've been doing bus rides here for years.
sure,
It's not.
so they take the bus from Grand Forks to the Fargo Airport, and then the Fargo Airport to Minneapolis, and,
Choose to, or they get on the airlines here.
okay, alright. So the invoice included daily media monitoring, board meeting attendance, the Grand Forks, press release, Girls in Aviation event promotional support. How does that benefit the Hector Airport?
Promoting aviation is what we do.
Mhm.
So getting people involved in aviation, pilot shortage, mechanic shortage, any opportunity that we give students to come here, as we do with the West Fargo schools.
Okay.
4-H, and there's a whole bunch of different students that come here, even college students. It's a promotion.
And do we partner with the Jet Center or the Air Museum on that?
We do.
Okay,
We partner with Jetson. We have a co-marketing program with Jetson that we've had for years, where we co-market the Fargo Airport as a fuel stop
okay.
and custom stop. We've done that for 15, 20 years. Co-market overseas, so.
And then do we partner with, like, does Flint also provide services to the Fargo Jet Center?
I do not know that.
Okay. I just noticed it was $42,000, which was a larger expenditure than normal.
Look at the last invoice that we sent you, those are hard costs for the week that runs for the fall.
Right.
So those are hard, they do not mark those up, there's no commission on those.
Okay, I just,
30,000 of those for the hard costs for the week,
okay,
that's in the invoices that we sent you.
I was just thinking that we were gonna be having a stakeholder meeting, which was indicated back in August.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's probably a good point. Where is it at with Flint? So are we, well, kind of, I don't wanna, go ahead and finish your questions on the bill, but I have a different
My
question.
question is just that it just seems like a larger expenditure when on August 31st, I have an email from Kelsey saying, we will know more after the meeting if Hector's even gonna retain Flint Services and what the next steps are. That was on August 31st. And then Jody was supposed to be at the next meeting,
That's retaining January 1st and beyond.
okay?
So Jody, the last communication I think she's had with us was that she's got a 3-year proposal that I believe you had requested that they put together, Rick. That's what she's been looking at.
When do we anticipate that?
I would say maybe at our next meeting, possibly, or the first meeting in November. Tara, do you know, Tara Ekman is on from Flint. Tara, do you know the status of Jody's proposal that she's working on? I wasn't party to the request, and already spoken to her.
I'm not 100% sure what the status of that is. I think you have a copy of it, but I think there was more to flesh out on that, but I'm not really involved on that side of things. I can certainly have Jody get back in touch with you today, Sean, to let you know more on that.
Thank you.
And Tara, just so you know,
Yeah.
I have been emailing with Jody to try to get together. It just hasn't happened yet. But I know in the August meeting, and in the proposal, we had said that we were gonna have a presentation and a stakeholder meeting, and that hasn't happened yet. And then, so I was just surprised with the larger expenditure than normal. That's all.
Mr. Chair, what's normal, Paula?
I think usually it's like 10, 15,000. I know that our total for the year on one of these things was 100 and, let's see here. $169, so 42 is a big chunk. at one time. When we're not seeing anything else that we had talked about, like, you know, maybe billboards or wrapping a bus or other ways to communicate with the public, that's all.
Rick, you had a,
Well, my only thing is I think we need to follow up on them, find out when they're gonna give their presentation. We've talked about, you know, we want a marketing plan that takes us through the construction. I think we approve that, or we approve, like, I don't know if we really approved a plan for 2023. If we approve the plan, then we would know if they're off track or on track as we're going through this thing. And right now, we really don't, so I think we just, so anyway, I think we can go ahead and.
Our expectation here is.
Well, we were
sometime-
supposed to have a presentation a couple meetings ago.
Right, we haven't. seen
Yeah, I think
it.
we just, if, you know, staff can follow up with Clint and find out where we're in that process and make sure that I think we need to have that discussion and debate here and approve or not approve or make that decision, so. And that would be for 2024 and going forward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I guess I question the urgency of it. I know we had a construction plan to start the terminal end of this year. That's pushed back 5-6 months. And I'm wondering if, because that's changed, the urgency is backed off a little bit. I don't know that to be a fact, but I'm just wondering.
2024 is like 3 months from now, so.
No, I'm talking about the construction of the terminal was pushed back.
Sure.
And the timeframe was really compressed with Flint to get a plan together before that starts, so.
Well, I think whoever we have as our marketing, regardless of what changes are in that, we want them on board kind of through that period. But anyway, I'm fine with voting on this now.
This has been an ongoing discussion, 6 months, so we do need to, I think, bring some conclusion to it. The building does seem to become kind of chunky, and you're saying, John, that this is media costs within the 42. And is that done quarterly, is it scheduled that way?
I don't know the exact, timing of it. Maybe Tara can tell us.
Shown in this,
Yeah, it's in the presentation, it was given,
Okay.
but the board already has this information, just a matter of bringing it back and calling what your schedules are for the revised.
I just wanted to just go back to the August presentation where we said we were gonna have a stakeholder meeting, and then that
Well,
hasn't happened
yeah,
yet.
and the landline needs a little explanation.
Whatever you get, it's for Fargo benefits from that, I don't know how this.
No, I'm just saying that when you look at an invoice and see what Grand Forks, that it's confusing.
Well, thank you for explaining that, I appreciate that.
All right, are there any other questions on the individual vouchers? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. All right. Item number 4 is a receive an update, on the Bank of North Dakota. I think, what's the official term, title for this, the legacy infrastructure,
Legacy infrastructure revolving loan funds. So
Yes.
John Shockley is on, John has been helping us as bond counsel with Scott Wagner, the bond counsel for the Bank of North Dakota. At our last meeting, the board had requested that the definition be amended to include a parking structure. And John, you've done some research and conversations, so can you bring us up to speed on that request?
Yeah, thank you, members of the board and Mr. Chair. So under the statutory provisions for the loan program, you could certainly add the parking structure to the definition. If there was a choice to include it as part of the definition, though, we would need to amend the application with the Bank of North Dakota and go back through the approval process. We want to delay having the city of Fargo approve the resolution that is on the agenda for later, for the next upcoming Fargo Commission meeting. The Bank of North Dakota had indicated that it would not mean that you would increase the total amount of the loan. So it'd still stay at 40 million. The other issue is that it may have an impact upon the CFC charges that we were applying for. And so the short answer is yes, we can do it, but that could potentially cause some delays in getting the loan closed. But we could certainly do it. I can answer any questions you want, but that's kind of a summary of where we're at.
Could you explain, I think you said the ESE charges, what do you mean by those?
The passenger facility charges, there's an application that is pending to allow you to have some of the charges that you could use to the debt service. I don't think the parking structure was included in that, so you would need to make that change to your financing plan also, because we'd be including that in the bond.
So I mean, my other question is, why are we adding the parking garage? What's the benefit for us adding the parking garage?
Rick, I'd probably respond to that. And as we looked at the overall financing package for both the parking garage and the terminal expansion, Leibowitz and Horton at one point had sort of said maybe that could be a split, 25 million for parking garage, 15 million. I don't know the exact numbers there, but all we're doing is leaving flexibility into the plan. It's not defining specifically that this is going to happen. But again, if you kind of look at timing of it, the parking garage will be complete in 12 months. All the expenditures on that. Would it make more sense to draw down on the construction funds from the Bank of Dakota Fund, or sell bonds? And all this does is allow us that flexibility.
So the purpose really would be to draw down the Bank of North Dakota loan for the parking garage.
If it makes sense. And like I said, the first run that I saw from Leibowitz and Horton, they split it 25-15 between the two projects. We do have to be cognizant of the repayment eligibility for the different things. But what this is trying to do is not get us in a position 6, 8, 12 months from now that, boy, it would have made sense to draw that down. It looks like the Bank of North Dakota loan is a single draw loan, so the full amount will be drawn down within the construction account. And again, it's just financial engineering options through the whole process. At the end of the day, we're going to have to pay for both. Both are going to have, could have some element of bonds or the bank.
Mr. Chair, you said the loan is a single drawdown. That isn't the understanding we had. From the original loan application, it was as you need to use it, you draw to it.
I believe as I read the documents, it came in, and maybe you can address that, but it looked like you'd do a single draw, create a construction account.
You really, with the Bank of North Dakota, you have flexibility. You can do it either way. You can make one single draw, or you can make multiple draws over your period of construction. It's a very flexible financing option.
So again, this is not deciding that we're going to do this. This is just putting into the definition. So if we have a reason we'd like to do it, we can do it. It's an eligible part of the project.
I guess, Mr. Chair, because of the complications it could create, I would say not do it and be safer. If knowing that we don't need a single drawdown on the loan and can use the dollars as needed as bills come due.
Well, not on parking structure. We're going to use a parking structure.
So does it give us the opportunity to just be a little bit more flexible? So
It just gives options at this point.
it just gives us options.
As opposed, there's no other choice then, as Mr. Chair, that use this, have drawdown privileges and have it attached to the line, or the line attached to the parking facility, but have an issue with our passenger facility use.
And again, Rick, what we're doing here is including it in the definitions of the project. We will have to make specific financing decisions as we go. I would hate to be a year down the road saying, interest rates have spiked, this is not a good time to be selling bonds. Would it make more sense if we could use the Bank of North Dakota money for the parking garage and see what happens in interest rates? Again, these are two independent projects, but at the end of the day, the cash flow from the airport as a whole has to carry the financing package. So this gives us flexibility. This does not lock us in. This
What are we talking about a delay? How long would it delay?
30 days.
I don't have a problem either way with this. I'm fine doing it. My preference really was to keep it on the terminal and then go back to the Bank of North Dakota for funding for the parking lot in addition to the loan in the future. Now,
And
we can probably do it either way, right?
all this does is define as part of the project where those funds can be expended. So again, we would certainly like to go back and get additional funds.
Sure.
But this is just leaving the option open at this point. If we don't do this and we're a year down the road, we probably couldn't do it. So,
John Shockley, how long will it take you to get the amendment for Stacy and stop by here?
The amendment itself won't take very long. I'm not certain how long it will take for Bank of North Dakota to approve the amendment. They're usually fairly quick about that, but my understanding is it'd be 30 to 45 days. So we probably have, we probably go through, get it changed, and at the next board meeting, and probably approve an amended resolution. And then we close probably mid to late November.
Mr. Chair, can we request the city of Fargo approve as amended ahead of time? Can they do that?
I don't know why we want to at this point. As you pointed out, Rick, the project's delayed 5 months. We've got the luxury of time at this point.
We do, but I'm just thinking it's on their agenda now, correct?
No.
It's not on the city's agenda?
Well, I think it's penciled in, but it's not
Okay.
finalized. So based on this conversation today, I'll re-engage with Susan Thompson and Mike Redinger to clarify
Back in the office.
decision that's made, that it's delayed.
I would say the city and the bank will love to have a revenue source attached to the bond. It'll improve their situation,
Yeah.
which is why I didn't want to really give it up either.
Well, on the other side of it, I was surprised they didn't ask for it. But again, the revenues, all revenues from the airport are pledged to, both, will be pledged both to the repayment on a parity basis with the Bank of North Dakota. And if there's additional general obligation funds in addition to the city's guarantee, they've already tied up all the cash flow. So it kind of makes sense if you would have it eligible for funding also, because the cash flow from the parking garage will be part of the whole process of repayment. That loan.
So just to clarify, when you talk about eligibility of funding, you're talking about eligibility. Because the parking structure isn't eligible for passenger facility charge reimbursement.
No, and Sean, I'm talking about eligibility is that we do have to be very careful and cognizant of the requirements of the various sources of other financing. So one of the considerations, if we were to say, okay, we want to take and fund this with Bank of North Dakota money, is there eligible dollars that are identified for repayment? And that's something throughout the whole project we have to be careful
I guess that's the update. So John, I guess work with the team and start the amendment.
And the expectation with the city is, as we initially approached the city with this, they were asking that we come and do a presentation that this wouldn't just be a consent agenda item. We are asking general obligation of the city, backing the Bank of North Dakota bonds. And if we sell additional bonds, we'll have the same request, so kind of have to see where that goes. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And I don't think we need a motion at that point, that's just directing them to work on it. If we bring it back. Okay, all right. Item number 5 is update Needham Hunt and then Leibowitz and Horton. Rick, have you received anything from Leibowitz and Horton?
Yeah, just kind of an update. So the objective at our last meeting was to really pull the financials together in a way that shows the cash flow for the next 5 years with just the terminal expansion, and then also the cash flow with the terminal expansion and the parking ramp revenue. So where we're at today is we have the original kind of cash flow for the terminal expansion put together, but there was confusion on the assumption of the parking ramp, so they've gone back to that. So I hope to have a draft, which we didn't get last night, so I got an email from Steve. So I don't think from my perspective, I don't think there's anything to discuss at this point.
And they weren't able to make the meeting today, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're gonna do a source and use.
Correct.
I was hoping they could at least start with the source and use as we start identifying, especially tomorrow. We have Senator Hogan here looking at additional.
Just make it clear we need more money.
Well, yeah, we need more money, but what I was trying to understand is our identified sources, where are we in those? What do we have in grant dollars already? And we were talking about, I think, Rick, just a very simple source and use statement.
Right. That they have not done,
Okay.
but I guess we do know those sources and uses. So maybe that could be put together for tomorrow, because I think what probably the senator's interested in knowing is, what are you expecting from the federal government? Where is that revenue coming from, and what can we do to enhance that, probably.
Tom Shaw will be here to lead that discussion,
That'll be good.
similar to what he presented to Senator's staff. So all of that has been identified as a standard opportunity. We had a long conversation on Saturday at the Air Guard, and looking forward to the
Good.
discussion tomorrow.
Well, and the other thing, as soon as I get this information together, then I think last meeting, Rick and I were gonna go through that and kind of answer our questions and have something to put before the board.
Well, and that material will be critical if the city wants us to do a presentation. Because again, the question before the city is, the city's going to have to agree that if the airport is ever in a deficiency situation in making the payments on the Bank of North Dakota funds, or if we do other bonds, that the city would levy property taxes to cover that. I'm pretty sure the city does not want to levy any property taxes. They can take more of an interest as a participant in the law than just, yes, go ahead. So, I think it's critical that Leibowitz and Horton get us the information. And again, Rick, I would ask that we remind them that providing spreadsheets the evening before a meeting, it's not really timely and responsive work on their part.
Well, and I don't think there's anything that's gonna change from the city's perspective. I mean, we basically had the 2 mills, and it looks like it's real solid going forward, the cash flow. So I don't anticipate anything different than what we've been aware of and watching, just maybe in a more simplified manner.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Brandon, are you plugged in and ready to go?
Yes. Yes, I am. Good morning, everybody. So, providing an update this morning. We do have some images to share with you of the restroom specifically. So I'm going to hand it over to Gina. You all know Gina. She's our lead interior designer on the terminal project. And she's going to walk you through, we have a handful of images. And so, again, these are first run at it to give you the intent of where we're going. You pay attention to like the fixtures and some of the images and patterns on the wall, and it should give you a feel of the design direction. So I'm going to hand it over to Gina here. There we go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And is Darren driving, or am I gonna drive with the images?
You are.
You can share your screen with us.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
so Gina, yeah, if you have the most current, you can pull those up.
Sure, yeah. Give me 1 second here.
Okay. Oh, we have your number.
Oh, my,
We don't see an image, so.
oh, okay. Okay. Is that working? I'm sorry, I'm not very good at Zoom. What's the name?
That's okay. If we need to, we can ask Darren to pull up the images if you have them. Darren, did you bring them onto the computer or?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Sorry about that.
Well,
You're
we
getting
just
there.
don't approve the bid package then. No pictures, no bid package.
Try this one more.
Not going through.
Okay, can you see the screen?
I think I have to share.
Hold on. He's got them up here, just wait.
Oh, okay.
There's a little
Just a second.
Come on, there we go.
We
Photos.
planned for this just to build anticipation, so this is part of this.
Come on.
I apologize.
Okay.
Okay. Still pushing buttons here. Oh, there we go. Can you see the screen now?
There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we are. Okay, perfect. So this is the lower level men's restroom. In this restroom, we're going to be using the same floor tiles that we're using throughout the facility. And we're also going to be using that on the wall. We're doing a composite sink with an integrated faucet, soap dispenser, and hand dryer. The mirrors are recessed with LED lighting. At the sink, you can see we have a 6-inch shelf. And then on the opposite wall, between the urinals, we have the partition. This rendering, I apologize, they came through. They're not solid, but in reality they are. And then above the urinal is a tile in a wood pattern to bring in the wood elements that we have going on in the terminal. Okay, next slide. And then this is the women's restroom. Here again, on the lower level, incorporating the same materials as we did in the men's. In the women's restroom, we do have that little alcove for the baby changing table, as well as the hood next to the changing table. Okay, next slide. This is on the main level, the men's restroom. Here again, the same material. And in the restrooms, we would like to incorporate that graphic image on the back wall, the feature wall, as I call it. And for Fargo, with as much as you all are involved in aviation, I looked at images from the air show and then also airplane images of the area. Okay, next slide. This is the family restroom. In the family restroom, we're doing a 24 by 24 tile on the wall, just to break up that porcelain that we're using throughout. And then we'll be also doing the mosaic. The mosaic that's here is just a placeholder. The one that we'll be using is more geometric and has a nice design to it. Next rendering. Here again, same image of the family restroom. And in the family restroom 263, we will be having an adult changing table that didn't show up in this rendering, but it is in there. Next image, please. Here again, the family restroom from a different angle. And this one is showing the baby changing table. The women's restroom on the second level. In the women's restroom, we're looking at doing some floral images, sunflower, here again, something relating to Fargo. So that's what's on our feature wall in this image. Baby changing table at the entrance again. Next image, please. Men's restroom, and then this part. And also at the same, on the far end, we do have two little built-in ladders, so for kids that can stand on and reach the thing. Next image. This is the inside of the toilet compartments. Our toilet compartments are 5 feet deep to allow for a roller bag, and maybe small toddlers that are joining you. The apartments to have room. There is a shelf above on the back wall, and also each compartment will have a hood, as you can see on the 88 cell there. Next image. And then another image of the women's restroom, with the compartment. And then our final image is the women's restroom again, and where the woman is and where the supports are for the kids.
So Gina, this is Sean, just, is there there's baby changing stations in the men's rooms?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, there.
And then I think as we see on this image here, the partitions are mounted to the floor. I think we talked through that with Dan and others that they're gonna be suspended, is that correct?
That's right, they're gonna be ceiling high.
So there won't be,
We're just placeholders.
Yep.
For right now, we're working through those details of structural and architecture, but they will be in the ceiling.
I think one of the things that we discovered when we had the Freedom Resource Center out here and all of those staff was the family restrooms became much larger. We had a gentleman here who was in a wheelchair, a large motorized wheelchair, and they really, really needed the maneuverability. So I think sizing those based on that tour really helped.
Yeah, they are quite large, our family restrooms are quite large.
Yeah, that was really helpful too.
Yeah.
Walking through that with them and literally able to demonstrate some of the challenges that they had with the restrooms with the larger motorized wheelchairs. So yeah, they were very good to work with, and we'll be meeting with them, following up with them, sharing these images and other things in the next round of listening sessions.
Well, it's dangerous showing this to us because you get in the weeds too much. But I had really three points. So the first was I'm looking at your dryers, and the old paper towel hand dryer that you've got shown in your picture, I think is a huge mistake. I think you need hand-free, and I think you need an air dryer. And only having one in this bathroom seems like it's way undersized. So that would be my one thought, is I think we should have both like a Siemens Shields, heavy-duty air dryers that can, yeah. So I'm assuming that's done.
This is,
That's it is.
So, what Brandon is pointing out there, or maybe,
Darren.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Gary's got it.
I've just seen buildings that have had these, again, what you're showing there is a paper towel thing being,
let me tell you what that is.
what's that?
Oh, I pointed that out for a reason.
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, it's really,
Maybe this faucet is an integrated soap,
That's
air,
water.
and
no, I'm
water.
talking about I'm talking,
That's a hand dryer.
what?
It does soap, water, and hand, that bar.
And paper towel,
Yeah.
paper towel is just kind of
All right,
extra.
So each sink has a hand dryer.
all right. I'll defer, but I think that what you have there is showing outdated, and that's gonna create a mess long-term. But the other thing that I would say is that you've shown a bunch of shelves in there. I think that's really a good thing. I mean, keeping in mind who's traveling in Fargo, they have gloves, they have cell phones, they have those types of things. And so I would say on the men's urinals, I think you should have a shelf up there.
There is, right?
There is,
Okay, all right.
there's a shelf,
I
there's
didn't
a
think it,
different shelf,
okay, cool.
and
Then
that's just the thing.
Then the other thing is, I think making the stalls wider for a rolling bag, I think that's great. The other thing, I'd make sure that you've got plenty of coat hooks in there, because again, as you've shown, people are coming in with coats and bags and things like that, so making that convenient. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't expect an answer, it's just that we have an opportunity to get it right here, and I would say let's not use some innovative new design that's not gonna work. Let's make sure that it's tested out and works well, so we can move people through quickly.
Rick, I've experienced the multi-use faucet, soap dispenser, and an air hand dryer. It very conveniently blows water up out onto your pants and shirt.
They,
Quite an option.
they have them all over Europe, they're
Yeah.
really popular now.
They need to fine tune the ones that I've run into, because it's really quite surprising to put your hand in there and it sprays water kind of. In your.
Again, I don't wanna debate this, I'm just
Yeah.
pointing that out.
It woke me right up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Gina, I just wanna say thank you because I know that you and I have talked about the bathrooms and my desire to see a lot of hooks and the shelves by the sinks and I just thank you for, and the deeper stalls that you can get a rollerboard and a kid in, and thank you for integrating that into your design. Thank you for the adult changing area, I think that's important. I'm really happy to hear you're gonna have a baby changing table in the men's room. One thing I didn't see was a full-length mirror.
And that would be toward the entry, so unfortunately, we didn't get an image facing that way, but that would be going, as you're going out, there'll be a full-length mirror in the restroom.
Okay, thank you. I know, just like Rick
Yeah.
said, now's the time to get it right and have some great bathrooms for our passengers.
That's it.
Great, and did we, Gina, are we doing metal partitions or polyvinyl,
We're doing, high pressure laminate,
high pressure line?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
As discussions with Dan, we don't wanna do metal, he wants to do the laminate
Yeah,
for cleanability. I don't blame him, if not, they're hard to keep clean.
And to
Yeah.
have them suspended will help with
Okay.
cleaning the floors too. I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
absolutely.
What will help with cleaning the floors?
By not having the
Any-
supports on the ground,
Oh,
but to have them suspended, then you can
Yeah.
mop the floor easier.
No.
Yeah, everything else, all the fixtures are wall hung, so, yeah, once we have those partitions shown, we'll have those, ceiling hung and the floor will be completely clear.
Well, I think that brings up a good point. I think every step of the way here in design, we should have the people that are gonna maintain the building take a look at it, because we wanna make sure that it's easy to clean and efficient to clean. So I would really encourage any people that are gonna be involved in the maintenance and operations to weigh in on this as much as they can.
One thing we may need more of is garbage cans along the way, or just something for trash, even though the people won't have, towels to dispose of by the sinks. They might have a Starbucks cup to throw in the garbage or something, and all I see is a small trash receptacle right now.
Good point, and a baby diaper.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, I have the dumbest question in the world.
There are,
I don't know about European bathrooms, but does anybody use bidets in their newer designs?
I have not seen them in Europe,
I was curious if they do or not.
not in the public
It
restroom.
seemed to go with the faucets, I think.
It's just a thought.
The chairman's water issue, a bidet would be a good challenge for him.
I know it was the dumbest question in the world, but
They don't even do that in Europe and
Don't they?
in public restrooms now.
I think we should do one. We could always convert it to a drinking fountain.
there, I'm done with my bathroom questions.
no more bathroom humor. Alright,
If there aren't any other questions or comments on the restrooms, our next part was just to give an update on the budget. So in the packet that you received, I put an updated summary. It's an email that I sent to Sean, but it gives you an overview of where we're at. So I think the last time around at our last meeting, we had stated, so our budget that we've held pretty much from the study on was $106.3 million. And as of DD's design development drawings, we were at $118.5 million, which was an estimated, which was a difference of $12.2 million. Since our last meeting, we solidified just through products, evaluating different types of products that could still provide the same quality and look, as well as coordination with some of the mechanical items. We were doing ROI evaluations and what made sense. We were able to shave off $6 million without compromising function or scope. So where we're at right now, we're now only at a delta of $6.2 million. So where we're at as of today is $112.5 million that we're asking the board for us to move forward on. So increasing the budget from 106.3 to 112.5. If you recall from our presentation, this does include an $8.6 million contingency is built into this. $8.7 million contingency, and that's owner contingency, that's design contingency, and construction contingency. Just to handle all the unforeseens or things along the way that you may have thought about. Yeah, it makes sense to add into scope. So if you want to see the detail on the VE items, that is also part of it. It's listed in that email and in your packet. There were over 80 items that we came up with to evaluate, and this is what we boiled it down to.
Brandon,
Any questions on what we have?
Brandon, I had a few questions from people as they looked at this. And I'm wondering if we can find a way to maybe allow some detail here. Is that this board is what I heard from some people is, we're being asked to increase the budget at this point, $6 million. That's a big number, and I know at each stage we we should be expecting to kind of refine and everything else, but do you have any suggestions how, as I look through the list, there's some detail there, but it's pretty cryptic. I noticed one that said reduce parking spaces. I don't know what that means. But at the same time, I look at that long list and know you guys have been in meetings for hours and hours on this. But I'm getting the feeling from the board that it's going to be a little difficult for us to look at a list like this and say, oh yeah, let's just add another 6 million.
Yeah, I completely understand. It's a tough balance to where we're trying to summarize and give you an overview without inundating you with pages of detail and paperwork. So if there's anything specific on that list that like parking, the parking stalls, for example, that was evaluated by the airport admin, what we have now versus what we were proposing. And it boiled down to the amount of employee parking that was needed was not as much as we had originally designed. So everybody was very comfortable with cutting back the number of stalls that we had. It was an increase in the number of employee parking, and now we've scaled it back to what they currently have now, plus a couple more.
So parking is a revenue generator for us, and so that was one thing that caught my eye right away, $177,000 savings, but we tend to generate revenue on the parking long term. Another question I had, Brandon, was removing the EV charging panels and transformers from the scope of the work will save us $49,000. How are we positioned to, in the future then, to add that? And is there grant money available for the EV charging stations? Is there any way to keep that?
So these were EV charging stations that the ATOs were asking for because their ground support equipment in the future is going to be converting to electrical. So originally we had, from our first round of listening sessions, we had incorporated them into the design, but they don't really have any defined timeline on when they're going to get those. And so we're just providing the panel, the power is going to be sized appropriately so it can be added in the future, but not necessary right now. So that was kind of an easy one.
Okay. I know some electric companies, et cetera, are providing assistance with getting those, so. $1,900 or $1.96 million for, it says provide custom architectural, just a CAD ceiling blades in lieu of Armstrong space departure lounges, 6 inches A and B. Can you explain that? That's a
that one was a big one. There was a lot of confusion between the manufacturers of what was being provided. What you see and what you've seen in all of the images, these are the blades that run across the concourse, the ceiling. There's those, it's this kind of a rhythm of ceiling, I guess, baffles or blades. It helps with sound. It also helps with masking some of the MEP equipment. And biggest of all, it helps relate and soften the transition from the existing to the new. We're doing that with flooring and ceiling. This savings was part one. It was looking at another manufacturer and two, there was a misunderstanding of the spacing that we were asking for. And so, you know, with less spacing, there were more blades. So we spaced them out more and gave them an actual dimension for the spacing, and it came out to be a pretty significant amount.
Okay. Remove slat ceiling, and then it says departure 290 kids area, that's item number 64.
Yeah. So we also have CLT cross laminated timber decking, and that's going to be exposed in those areas. So we're removing the ceiling blades in there because we have there we have relatively controlled mechanicals. There's no reason that we need to relate a ceiling there, so it's going to pop up, and you will see the wood structure underside, the underside of the wood structure with a couple spiral ducts and such above.
Okay.
It's going to create a more open feel in that area.
Okay. What is the item number 15 where it says remove new canopy?
Yeah, that was, so we had a kind of an extension of the existing canopy where you do drop off. We had extended that canopy out in front of, if you picture the glass box. And yeah, you might have the image there in front of you, but there was kind of this geometric canopy shape that extended over in front of the glass box. We took that one out. We felt it was we really could go either way with that. It wasn't really serving a purpose, and it just exposes the terminal atrium, the iconic entrance more for when you come to approach the terminal. So is it showing in the image that you have there? Do you guys, is there a glass box image?
Where those go?
Sorry, yeah. I don't recall if we had a few images showing just not the stand there.
Oh, there it is right there.
It serves no purpose. What it's doing is blocking what you're trying to get people to focus on, so they just have to figure it out.
Okay.
Correct.
I think back to what
yeah.
Mr. Cosgrove said was, you know, we don't know until you kind of explain.
Understood.
I mean, it's kind of vague to say remove new canopy.
It's a lot. As you guys know, it's you know, what goes into a terminal is very complicated, and you guys have entrusted us in designing, doing what's appropriate with standards, giving you a level of quality and listening to your feedback along the way. So this is part of that exercise. If there is anything in that list, anything else, or if I haven't explained it enough, feel free to reach out to me or send some questions to Sean, and I can give you some responses.
Since you're here, I've got another one for you. Number 63 is reduce the size of the large skylight. Where were those located, and how will that impact?
Oh.
I mean, because that goes, reduce the size of the large skylight to the smaller skylight?
Yeah, so that one really came naturally because we, after talking to the skylight manufacturer, reducing the size would actually worked out just fine for us. It is over the feature wall, the moss wall in the composure area. We have a skylight that washes down over that feature wall. We also have a skylight down as you're walking down the concourse corridor to bring in some natural light as well. these, reducing these we were planning on doing that anyway, just because it was kind of unnecessary how big it was. We wanted to balance it with, not having a tunnel effect either if it's too narrow. So, in this, we found the sweet spot in working with the manufacturer, Skylight manufacturer, for a standard size as well. That was the big savings, was that what we had originally drawn was not a standard size.
Well, I look forward to, thank you for the bathroom renderings, and I look forward to the baggage claim and car rental renderings.
Yeah,
Brendan,
we are working on those.
yeah, Brendan, as we go through this project now, at this stage, what % are we to say we're complete or?
Yeah, I would say we're about 75% complete. Conservatively, right now what we're doing, we're looking to, we've got the design done with exception to like some detail selections, but here moving forward more than ever, the design team moving forward, they're detailing everything out. So any significant changes kind of has a chain reaction. In other words, it would create more rework. So as we were talking about, we're solidifying floor plans, solidifying the design. Right now, that's where we're at. We're planning on being locked in with the floor plan. We've vetted it through all the user groups, and now we're just detailing everything out. So.
And what's your expectation of the board today?
Our ask, so right now, the 112.5, that's less than a 6% increase from the original budget. Our contingency is can usually absorb that, but we don't like to burn our contingency during design if we don't have to. So that's why we're asking for the increase, because we want to maintain, in the interest of the airport, we want to maintain that contingency through construction, so you guys have some cushion and some latitude during construction.
So within the 112.5 that you're asking at this point includes the 8 million, or is that on top of the 8 million?
No, it includes the 8 million contingency.
Okay, so, yeah. Yeah, that's all included in there. Okay, and Brandon, just as we start this process, and like I said, I know it's cumbersome, but if we say no at this point, where do we go there?
Well, at this point, to shave another 6 million off, some of the VE items were actually scope reductions, and they noted through our listening sessions is kind of how scope, finding what was needed, on the maintenance side, finding more details, and that's how kind of scope gets added. It's called scope creep, but it's necessary. So if we were to cut back a charge to cut back another 6 million, we feel we would be compromising the needs of the terminal, what we defined as the scope up to date through our listening sessions.
Well, and Brandon, just from a political standpoint, I'll remind you that a reduction and an increase is not a reduction.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. And as we go through this, I just want each of the board members to understand the options that we have available. If we see these numbers or aren't comfortable with the increase in the numbers. As you talk about scope, what would happen if we reduce the scope of the entire project?
Price would go down.
Yeah, and some of the things that were on the table, we did label them as like second round if you chose to go this round, and that was scaling back the first floor restroom remodels. We talked about the baggage carousels. There's 2 of them that need to be replaced, but those are big ticket items as well. That were being considered, and then there were some mechanical cutbacks that we reduced the efficiency that we felt had a really good ROI.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Brandon, is it fair to say that the construction manager at risk process leads us down this path and gives us a little more flexibility as to just a straight up bid to a contractor?
Yes, yeah, for sure. Right now, if we didn't have the CMAR on board, this process would likely be happening at bid period, and then you're scrambling, and when you're scrambling, that's when mistakes get made. Many times, you usually you're even carrying, especially with the uncertain times in the construction industry here as far as budget, we'd be carrying a bigger contingency as well to try and absorb that. But I think how this would have played out, you would have earned up all your contingency at bidding or made a decision for further cutbacks.
Mr. Chair, I would move we accept the recommendations of Mead and Hunt for the changes under current conditions.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll second it. I guess my question though, construction manager at risk simply means that we're gonna kind of have more flexibility as we're going through this rather than a hard bid at the beginning, correct? Maybe you could just explain that to me so I understand what is the construction manager, what is McGough at risk for?
So can you guys see me, Bill?
No. We haven't been able to see you.
There you are.
Really?
Now we see you.
Now we see you.
Okay, all right. So the construction manager at risk is it's a process to really get the contractor on board early. Where this really makes the biggest advantage is mitigating operational disruption and phasing. Through a design bid build process, you can anticipate a phasing plan and think it'll work great, and all the contractors bidding on the project will have a different idea of what they think.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, Brandon, you don't need to go through that whole thing. I guess my only question is, from McGough's standpoint, your benefit comes as a % of the construction cost, correct?
The McGough's benefit?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the point being, if we spend another 6 or 10 million, it's not like McGough is making less, you're making more. So I guess I'm just trying to understand, as it relates to at risk, McGough is not really at risk from a financial standpoint. It's just that we're at risk that we don't know exactly what the number is when we start, and by having a coordinated effort, we're gonna end up with a better, more efficient plan at the end. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, our problem, in my opinion, our problem here to some degree is we're all volunteers in this board. We're not construction experts, and we're concerned at the end of the day, we want this to look nice. If it doesn't look nice, if it's not functional, the people sitting around this table are the ones that are accountable for. And so I think it's a little bit like, and again, I don't have a solution, but we need to know that we're aligned with our contractor, and our contractor is trying to achieve the same things that we, as a board, want achieved in this new terminal. So I don't expect you to answer, but I think that's one of the frustrations we have. We have no choice but to vote for this, right? We have no other alternative, and there's a lot of detail here that I don't think as a board we need to get into, but, you know, we need to be aware that, you know, who's representing us in this process.
Well said.
Anyway,
Well, no, and I think as a board, Brendan, appreciate the 6 million a lot better than the 12 million we were talking about last time, but that the process that was described with construction manager at risk was to go through this process, enter into the construction manager at risk, and not see these type of, you know, increases and changes. And so it's just a little unnerving, and Rick had stated that you know, this is a major increase. I mean, $6 million is nothing to sneeze at. And, you know, we better be ready in the last 25% here for additional items that we may have to consider. So I think going forward, trying to give us as much detail as we can. I appreciated your list, but it probably caused more questions than answers. And so if you have a better way to do that for us, I'd sure appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, there's two ways of looking at this too. You know, we did have contingency built in, and we felt like we were getting in the danger zone of burning up contingency by absorbing this $6 million increase. So, you know, it could also be looked at as increasing the contingency because to make sure that we're covered.
Well, that'll be the next thing that the recommendation will be as we get closer in, is that you have this contingency you haven't spent, so why might as well add this or might as well add that. So I think we know that's coming too. So some discipline there will help.
yeah, I mean, the reality is we're the ones that are at risk. You know, because we're not sure what those solid numbers are going to be as we're going forward. So again, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
One more thing before you go, Brandon. Back to the bathrooms. Was there a nursing area? I just remembered that I did not see one. Like an actual area for moms.
There is, and I don't think that we had a rendering for that. Gina, are you on yet?
Yes, I'm still here. We don't have a rendering, but there is a nurturing room for nursing, as well as the pod. We moved the existing pod as well, created an alcove for it up on the second floor. So there's 2 opportunities.
The prefab pod that we have now.
There's one there and plus a separate room.
Oh, I was.
So it's a completely separate room for nursing.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that there's a room for nursing. I was just hoping that maybe we wouldn't have the pod anymore. And unless you're a nursing mom with a toddler or 2 with you, and it's instead of creating a space for the pod, it would be nice to eliminate the pod and just.
We can do that because we do have the alcove. We were just hoping to reuse what the airport already had. But we could also look at converting that to a room, if that's the direction y'all want to go.
The pod just seems more like an afterthought, and then to actually build a spot for it to go, just, I don't know.
More and more buildings are saying permanent.
Yeah.
As opposed to modular, drop this pod in.
I think the pod is a super terrific, solution when there wasn't a nursery available. But I don't know about the aesthetic of building an alcove to hold.
Well, we could.
Just my two cents.
Pay for it, so we could build up the room, it wouldn't be bad, it's more expensive.
They can be a little claustrophobic.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Jim, are you still there?
Here.
Just wanted your affirmative vote, otherwise we'd have to go to a roll call. So it's unanimous at this point. Thank you. All right. Item number 6, amendment number 1, bid package 0, off with the passenger elevator project. It's another little surprise for us.
Auditor is here as well. Rob, Brandon, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this before us. This is starting the passenger elevator project. I think you said the week of December 4th, and $743,287 to get that project moving forward. If you recall, if we start the east expansion in May, that will take out the operation of the only backup passenger freight elevator that we have. So we talked at the board meetings about moving ahead with the addition of this elevator right by the Delta ticket counter area sooner than later, so that it's operational before they start the east expansion. As you're aware, we were without our main elevator here for 5 or 6 months, and that was a really awful situation for our customers. So I guess, what questions do you have of Oliver and or Brandon to hopefully approve this today?
Motion to approve it.
Second.
A motion and a second, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, item number 7, we've still got some cleanup work to do on the 2024 budget. And do we want to start with the health insurance or?
Well, there's 3 things that we're looking for today, is to affirm that the 3% cost of living. Then the follow-up to the question Mr. Inman put forth in terms of the health insurance, and his proposal to pay 100% of the single, and a pro rata share of the family plan, and then probably to just talk about the parking revenue portion of it as well.
Yeah.
So there's 3 separate things that are there from the preliminary.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you'd asked one other last meeting or so what the mill levy for the county is, and I found that it's 1.2 million equals 1 mil.
Okay.
And he does not pay for 100% on single, they pay a portion of that. And we found that the health insurance has gone up about 12% this year.
When I believe the quote we've received from our health insurance provider is about 5.77%. So in the budget, as it currently stands, the board approved keeping the employee's amount paid for health insurance, whether it's single or other policy, the same as last year. And when we do motions like that, what gets lost in there is that we are absorbing then the full 5.77% increase as the employer. So it's kind of the way we did that. I would just speak to the motion to do this. Joan calculated this isn't a huge monetary commitment to move from that, but it does move us away from what's happening similarly with the county and the city. There is some participation. And the only thing and I don't fault the employees for this, if you do not charge for this benefit, a health insurance benefit, those employees that have been that have chosen to be covered through a spouse's policy will quite naturally sign up for it and take the free policy to assist them in any co-pays or deductibles or coverage differentials between plans. So we do get a situation where, since it's free, why not take it? But it probably doesn't add a lot to the employee benefit package in that sense. That's where I think it's fair to ask the employees in something like this where we've seen continual increases in health insurance to be good stewards along with us as we try to provide the best benefits, but have participation and understanding of the employees. And again, I don't blame an employee if you're offered a free single policy and you're covered under a spouse's policy. I would also take that, just from the standpoint of it doesn't cost anything and there may be some benefit depending on how the coverages work. So if we want to take that one first.
So are you looking for a motion? Or what are you?
Rick's motion was to, at this point, study that. We do have the numbers on it, it's included in the packet. And so if there's no motion to make that change, I guess we move on to the next thing.
Mr. Chair, I would move we make that change, paying 100% of the single employees and then create the pro rata portion for the family, for those participating in the future.
After I see the numbers and where we are with the city of Fargo, we are within $10 on the family plan and we are $35 or so less on the single plan. So I think it seems like we are right in the ballpark of what other government entities are offering right now. So I don't know that there's a need to make the change.
Which one is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion? Motion dies for a lack of second. Motion is, any other comments?
I don't think that we're doing a disservice to our employees by not doing a zero deductible. We still have a very attractive and next to the city's plan, it's still better than the city's plan.
Mr. Chair, it's not a zero deductible.
Or is not, I'm sorry, zero cost, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Well, again, like the fact that everybody's involved in it, the commitment the airport was to hold the line and keep the employee payments. I would caution though, as you add cost to that as a whole, those numbers will drive budgets in the future and we could find ourselves in a position of looking at reducing or changing coverage as we seek to cover 100% of all costs. I think it's something we all need to work together. All right, the next item was our COLA of 3%. We had talked about that. Is there a motion to approve a COLA of 3% or some other amount if the board so desires?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve the 3% cost of living.
And so this 3% would apply across our wage scales and everything as we move across the board with it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Again, this would be an increase in wages and our pay scales going forward. And again, I believe that keeps us in line during these inflationary times with what we're seeing across other governmental entities.
Well, Mr. Chairman, will this be an increase to the budget we have?
No.
This is
3% was
in the budget.
into the budget.
Okay.
No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Jim, that was aye, I hope?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, the last item, sort of unknown in the budget. Rick, this ties back to the legal, it's important discussion, is estimating parking revenue for 2024. It's kind of come to light, SB Plus has done a number of iterations of this. There's evolved sort of two different parking revenue budgets. One for the feasibility study as we looked at the parking garage, and one for the budget. And so where we currently are, Sean, I hope I'll have this correct. At one point, SB Plus had estimated parking revenue for 2024 at 6.7 million. This is a gross number. Since that time, there was some adjustments to it, and that number was adjusted to 6.4 million. And so, between those two, we kind of need to find a home, and we've got a dual situation here, and trying to keep it as simple as possible. My suggestion would be that we would project parking revenue on an as-is basis for 2024. We know we're working on parking garage. We started adjusting and trying to adjust revenues for the parking garage and construction contingencies and everything else, which took us, way off track. We know what our parking revenue has been. We know what the growth factors have been, and I would suggest we would look at 2024 in the budget for as existing conditions that we would do the budget. As we work on the parking garage, what we're gonna have to figure out is additional expenses or lost revenue due to construction of the parking garage and how that would affect that. I think that's a separate calculation and becomes a capital cost of building the parking structure. And so the question before us, and we spent a lot of time yesterday trying to understand this, is if we look right now through September, our parking revenue through September from 22 to 23 has been an increase of 61.47%. And it's been higher and lower month to month. Now, you might say, wow, what happened? Is October of last year is when we took our rate increases. And so the January through December of 2023 has the impact of the rate increases that we took last October 1st. And so and we can kind of try and break in between that, what's rate increase and what's increase in parking and parking revenue. So what we're trying to figure out for the last 3 months, October, November, December, is what will our revenues be in those last 3 months and how that would impact to our budgeted amount. Currently in October, November, December, in the projections, we're showing a 2%, 7.6%, and 5% increase in parking revenue over last year. And that would bring us into the total of about 6.5 million. The problem, as you look at this, is we've got 9 months of 60% increase in revenue. And now in our last 3 months of the year, we're projecting about a 5-6% increase overall through those 3 months. The reason being that these months in an increase had the increased rates built into them last year.
So what are you looking for, Mr. Chairman? I mean, I agree, we've got three things, we've got the budget 24,
Yeah.
we've got a transition period, then we got what's it look like for the new parking ramp.
Yep.
And my problem is I have not gotten anything on what it looks like, the new parking ramp.
Yep.
And I'm really frustrated that it's been months and months and
Yep.
SP and this whole thing. So that's what's holding back Thornton from getting his things done, so.
Yeah, well, I just think if we're gonna, and this is not a huge numbers difference, but it all compounds
Sure.
as we look at growth.
We need those numbers to
Yeah.
make the projection.
And I will tell you, this is a little bit of gamble. We asked SB Plus yesterday to give us a flash, kind of show us what first 9-10 days of October is running, are we running 3% or are we running 20%? I think we just need to, at this point, pick the number that we're comfortable with. I'm not comfortable moving it down to the 6.4. I'm more aggressive in the whole process and think we'll
What
come
number do you think?
6.7.
Yeah, move we do 6.7 for the 2024 budget.
And there are assumptions underlying that we can kind of back in.
We just need to move forward so we get that.
All right, so we have a motion that sets the gross parking revenue budget, including mega, the credit card fees, at 6.7 million. Is there a second to that?
I'd second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I guess we're projecting 2024 revenue, knowing that we're gonna take a large block of it out of service.
Yes. Well, not knowing, but as part of the parking garage project, we're gonna calculate what are our, we can't, I don't believe we can just tell people, sorry, we're out of parking, go somewhere else. So we're gonna have to come up with a plan as part of the parking garage to, what do we provide, shuttle service, do we build temporary lots? There may be additional expenses associated with that.
Mr. Chairman, again, this is just our projection. From my perspective, I don't want to send a signal that, okay, we're only expecting $5 million in revenue in parking next year.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing the construction, then I'm going, oh, perfect, we'll just use this whole parking lot. I think we want to push everyone that's involved in this project to help us maintain our parking revenue.
Yep.
And now, if they can't and we get into it, we'll make some decisions on what we're going to close down or do. But I think at this stage, we need to keep that goal at a high level. So that's why I support this. I mean, it's a projection. We don't know what we're getting into. Timing's going to be a big factor. I mean, so I just think we need to have some number so we can start figuring out the transition and the overall deal.
So, Mr. Chair, effectively, if there's a construction start on a parking facility in May, is that fair? So we'd have January, February, March, April, and possibly May of full use revenue of the parking facility, or let's say April to be safe, April. Thereafter, it's gonna be substantially changed, not done away with spaces, we can use and do temporary work. But that number is gonna substantially change because we're doing away with all the high test revenue.
Well, my argument would be, once we see the transition plan from construction, then we'll be able to make that decision. Until we see that, it's hard to say what they're gonna need for a laydown area and how they're gonna.
But we know all the short-term parking's going away, correct?
Well, again, not trying to combine too many topics here, but we have to find a way to provide our customers with the best experience possible. So we have to find a way to provide short-term parking, long-term parking, economy parking through the process. that's what we have to do. And I would have to say that we want to aspire to maintain the revenue at 6.7 for the budget in 2024. If we can't, then we have to consider that a capital cost of the terminal expansion or the parking ramp expansion. It becomes a cost.
Mr. Chair, if we're aware that it's coming out of service, we can't shroud it as a capital cost because it's physically coming out of service. It's a reduction of revenue.
Well, and again, Rick, we don't know the answer to that yet. It may be increased expenses that we have to incur in shuttles, temporary parking, just a number of things going forward. So I think the safe thing, and again, we are still working through the parking project. This is, but the fact that we have to take parking out of service, and I would argue it definitely would be an accounting question, but if we're taking parking out of service, that to me becomes a construction cost and a capital cost, and I would argue towards that we would charge.
I understand your rationale for the math that way, but if we know we're gonna take it out of service, and let's be generous and say, we have the use of all the facility through May at 6.7%. Thereafter, those spaces are taken out until we can prove they're replaced in a way. I would agree with those numbers to that point, but we're taking out all the short-term parking out of service.
Well, but we could replace it by taking the employee parking and moving that around.
Well, I just like to make one, I don't know if we're gonna do a parking ramp. The numbers I've seen recently have gone pretty high. And so I think until we get, again, from my perspective, we need to know if that makes sense for us to do the ramp. So that, to me, that question's still out there. So, and that's what I'm frustrated that we haven't gotten through that. I think if we don't build a parking ramp, this is kind of a mute discussion. The transition's a mute discussion.
Well, and I would just say that there's confusion already from how many spots will be taken out during the process. Again, and it becomes a capacity issue that thankfully it is lucky that we have nothing happening at this point till May. In May, June, July, August is our slower time, so we have additional capacity, and so the impact may not be as severe. We will have difficulty the later the project goes into the fall before coming into revenue production. There's been discussion of as many 500 spaces down to 250 places. We just don't know at this point. To set this number for the budget becomes what we're targeting for, and we've got a point then from Rick is what are we deviating from our budget? If we set our budget low, we don't have that.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is Rich still on? Rich Slagle? Okay. I know there's been discussion.
I am.
Oh, hey, Rich, thanks. Say,
Hey, Paula.
would we be losing all of 100% of the short-term parking spots, or do I recall having a conversation where we'd lose half and then part of the structure would be completed and then we lose the other half? Or do we lose 100% of the spots?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's probably best to assume you're gonna lose the 100% of the short term, and based upon our analysis, the most northern row of long term, that's in conjunction with the precast delivery and how they're gonna erect the system. So it's probably in that 290 to 320 range total, including our mobilization site, which would be on the east side.
Okay.
So I think that's probably the number to use right now. We did talk about that, Paula, but I think the most efficient process of getting this thing up as fast as we can is having that entire short-term taken.
Okay, thank you. My comment is, our short-term parking is a cash cow. So if we have to lose the short-term parking for construction, then how do we creatively recapture that short-term parking, whether it's an employee or whether we do something like Delta does with Comfort Plus and make the first section of our long-term parking more of a priority spot and raise the prices there to make sure that that first section that's more accessible and closer to the terminal at that time, maybe we can capitalize on that. I think we just have to be creative and not lose that $19 a day parking that clearly our customers and our passengers have indicated that they're willing to pay for a better parking spot.
Alright, any other discussion at this point?
I just hate to see, we're just to say, we're not gonna have any short-term parking, we've lost all of that revenue. I don't think that has to be.
We have a motion and a second, I believe.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would agree for at least through May that rate increase or the revenue increase would be there, but thereafter I'm not comfortable saying, well, let's just do it through the rest of the year. With what we know and what we've heard from the contractor and the construction management people, I don't think that's presenting an accurate number in a budget.
Again, we do not have, as Mr. Kerr pointed out, we don't have an approved project at this point.
I understand, but you're putting a budget number together based on information we have about the spaces coming out of service.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. This will be a disputed motion. Please call the roll.
Hang on.
No.
Bird,
Yes.
Capitan,
Yes.
Yes.
Oscar.
Aye. Motion is carried 4-1. All right.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
On council.
What's that?
Council fire us.
I'm wondering if we could get this one minute from Scott.
I'd have fired us a long time ago. I was gonna wait until now.
Yes.
Give us a quick thing on
Yep.
where we're at on the parking.
Perfect.
Diane.
All right.
Take it.
Scott, you're on.
All right, good morning. I will, Scott Fleming from Margaret's Homes. I'll share my screen and just give you a really brief rundown of where the team is currently at. What you're seeing here is the current footprint on the existing site plan in the green. The garage has lengthened slightly to encapsulate the entire area of the existing short term. You can see these proposed pathways for pedestrians through the existing surface lot and then to the terminal through the generally the existing pathways and sidewalks into the terminal doorways. The center section is now aligned with the existing skywalk, so we think the basic location on site is pretty close. We're still holding an offset to the terminal approximating 120 feet, but we're still working on those components, getting updated drawings. So this is the overall layout of the garage in reference to the existing site plan. This is the grade level of the garage with the current footprint. We've addressed or right-sized the main stair elevator tower and the connection to the skywalk. We do have two emergency egress stair cores positioned at the corner of the garage. The entrance to the garage is in the green. The short term would be entering off Terminal Drive, as well as a post drop-off entrance onto the short-term grade level. To go up to the long-term levels in the supported structure, you would enter an express ramp function. You can see it in the dark blue. And raise yourself up to the upper second, third, and fourth levels. And we're also projecting a roof. Moving up to the upper levels, this gives you an internal circulation view of the floor plate. The express ramp is expressed in the south extent of the garage. So the entering Parker will come from grade, circulate up till they locate a floor with open parking stalls. They will circulate park. Unparking is represented in the red arrows, where they're coming down and out and circulating through the express ramp system to get to grade. So not a lot of changes functionally. One area that we are changing is the future phases. We have condensed the future ramp immediately adjacent to the existing ramp. What this does is it makes it a much more efficient floor plate for any future garage expansion. The reason for moving forward on this is to inform our current design, the limits of where we would be adding or having the capability to make it convenient to add in the future. So that way, we make the original design much simpler and more cost effective. So we are showing a light wall structure along this area that can easily be added onto this, accommodate a future ramp. We would have just a removable spandrel in this location. And the rest of this would become a continuous floor plate and make a continuous garage expansion. So this is informing, how we move into SD, progress into SD. This was an early graphic of possibility for construction site access. We're trying to maintain the existing circulation towards the surface lot on the eastern side of the garage. I was proposing the construction activity circulate and get into the laydown area on the west. This could change based on the needs of the contractor, but these are the thoughts as far as we've gone in the process so far. In summary, the work in process is we're modifying the future phase functional design. We're solidifying the structural framing concepts. We're optimizing the framing around stair towers with the work that's going on with TL Stroh. Coordinating the skywalk location and height. We think we're just about through that progress. We're working on programming some of the accessory spaces that may be machine rooms, water rise room, electrical room, storage room, etc., and progressing with the schematic design. So that is a brief update. I'd be happy to try to answer questions if you have questions related to the images on the screen or the project in general.
Any questions? Terry, any comments?
I've always had one question: why are we doing a parking ramp east-west when we could do north-south and not disrupt half of the parking up front, and doing it east or north-south on this side, north-south on this side as a phase 2, and then the build-out of a skyway would be easy between the two buildings at the end. No one's been able to explain why that's not a good idea to consider.
You want to answer that?
The typical response to that is the people want to be parking as close as possible, but the highest value of parking is the closest to the door, is represented by your short-term parking. So it would end up, you would take away some of the demand of people going into the garage. They would park in the nearest surface lot adjacent the terminal, and it would be competing with your garage. The solution shown has the shortest distance for a terminal skywalk, where you use the building to walk within instead of extending the skywalk. So again, you would be reducing costs cost and maximizing the parking revenue by locating the garage in the position shown.
So can't you counter that by raising the rate on that surface to be a little bit painful if they want to park on the surface and it forces them to the ramp? Or we're making money on the surface in excess?
You could raise the rate to try to force people into the garage. But it isn't getting the density of having 4 levels of parking immediately adjacent to the terminal. So you're really densifying the nearest, most valuable parking, which you would lose that advantage having it in the north-south orientation.
But if you understood that it was a 2-phase process of 2 separate buildings as you're constructing them over time, does that take away from that concern?
Considering when the next phase may be, I think the next phase would be approximately a decade later. I don't know if you want to give up the advantageous revenue for a decade. So it wouldn't be the typical manner to construct in that fashion.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Is there the ability to add, if one of the rental car places wanted to utilize one of the levels or some spaces, is that feasible with this design?
I believe this is feasible with this design. Typically what we've seen with the rental cars is in the program you're using now, you're using a signage program. Another way would be to integrate them and let them inhabit a floor. In this case, you would likely have them inhabit the ground tier where they would have access that could be separated from the rest of the garage, with the rest of the garage occupancy is occurring on levels 2, 3, and 4. So yes, you would have the ability to have the rental cars occupy the garage in the future.
Scott, have we, or Terry, have we engaged the rental car companies at this point? Or
I think Sean has talked to him a little bit about it. We're just talking about the fact that we don't think, our highest and best use is going to be getting $25 a day for parking, and we don't think the rental car people are going to want cars sitting in there for that kind of dollar, and we wouldn't want to reduce it. So it just doesn't, right now, it doesn't make sense like they would even want to.
Just wondering if we said, do you have an interest?
Not until they get a little bit further into the design to show them something that here's what it's gonna look like, and then have that conversation, so it's.
So I'm just that we're.
And that's exactly what I asked Scott was, are we doing anything in this design that would preclude us from doing a rental car thing? Not really, because it's super straightforward.
Yeah, and just, all I'm saying is that we reach out to them
For sure.
and say, here it is. I mean, if it's anticipated $25 a day, what, do they have an appetite? Maybe they just want to stage cars that are being picked up, or who knows. That there is a discussion.
And I actually have a meeting tomorrow with a company that has been supplying all of the EV charging and basically Fargo. So all of the ramps downtown, number of the grocery stores in town, Elijah, so we're going to be meeting on that tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right. Item number 8, we're just flying along here. The Small Community Air Service Development Grant Award for Charlotte, is it North Carolina?
That would be the goal, so this is just put it on the public record that we did receive a Small Community Air Service Development Grant, letter of support from the delegation of American Airlines to begin the process of them fully analyzing the Charlotte service. This will result in us foregoing the grant that was awarded to us in 2015 for Seattle service, which was primarily for Microsoft, but Microsoft business travel is virtually non-existent right now. So that grant would be returned to the DOT. Our partners on this are still the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Greater Farmington Economic Development Corporation. So it's an FYI.
Number 9, Mark's Trading Company want to extend their Eastside Terminal office lease, and I assume there's the increase anticipated in that lease, 3% increase. So a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item number 10 is an easement for fiber to South Bay hangars for consolidated communications.
So move.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second, but
Second.
then I have a question.
Okay.
Are they providing to an individual site or access to any and all buildings in the premise area?
This is to the Vertibucci hangar, that's 1650 that's on there, but it does allow them to provide service from their junction boxes.
So it's your terminal, okay.
Yeah, this is just a second line off of their Metron.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 11, the Joel Peterson's hangar, the Jay Wesley hangar, I believe that was a 5-year extension.
Yes.
With increases as anticipated.
Motion.
So, second.
Motion and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Change order number 2, parking lot exit plaza, hopefully our last change order, hopefully we're all done there.
So they took out the existing, the old exit loops that were at the west entrance, that were discussed in significant field. This is the additional charge for that. That work is done and loops are gone.
Motion to approve. Second,
Second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Our financials for August of 2023. Just a couple comments. We are running considerably ahead of budget. And that may be timing at this point, but if we look at net income in account 561, which is our main operating account, we have net income of $569,000, budget $340. If we translate that through to the year, we are running net income of 7.9, actually rounded 8 million versus budget of 2.7. So performance is very solid at this point. Again, some of that may be timing, there may be lurking expenses, but we're seeing performance above budget. It still concerns me that we have that large of delta between our budget and actual. Anything, Sean, you're concerned about at this point?
No, not concerned. I think the biggest delta that you're seeing is the federal grants, and the COVID grant still on budgets. So
Yep.
we're seeing that. And they say we're waiting for 9.8 million that's coming in the first carriage drawdown, which should be any day, and then there's an additional about just under 3 million left in that carriage to reimburse for projects. We're in good shape.
Awesome.
All right, we've had our construction security update, unless there's anything else.
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive and file financials.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second.
Thanks for Jeff to update us on 2 projects, the reconstruction of Delta 1 taxiway.
Well, we'll just have
there.
them vote here first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, no problem.
So a couple of things there, Delta 1 Yeah, so, what Sean's referring to is, a couple panels up here on the north end of, Alpha One taxiway that cracked over the course of the summer. Long story, but the contractor hasn't been able to accomplish this till now. The plan is to begin that work on Thursday of this week, and when conditions allow. If they don't, that will start on Monday. Also, yesterday, Fargo Electric began boring across the airfield from the tower to the ARF station to install a new fiber optic cable for the crash foam. The Vidro fluid that Rick Berg was referencing earlier in the meeting, that's getting applied today. What else here? Gate 4, the boarding bridge 4 is being replaced this week. Air Bridge works wrapped yesterday. So between yesterday and tomorrow, they're just doing site work and removal. Tomorrow, or excuse me, Wednesday night, the bridge will arrive and install it on Thursday. So everything. So on this line from the tower to the ARF station, we did engage an archaeologist from NSUM to be on site. And the tribal monitor truck broke down on the way here last week, and now in the family emergency, so the MD's been announced to receive the help from the tribal monitor. As part of the environmental thing with the business owners. Correct. So we're doing those. Yeah, from there, just a couple other minor things is Chief Noyes is here. They'll be doing a live fire burn tonight that was publicly announced. I think it's in the forum. DUI picked it up. So if you see big flames and things going on here, tell us what you're doing. You're training all the airport fire.
We're just doing joint training evolutions with West Fargo, Memorial, and Harwood. It's something that we've been discussing doing with them for a while because of the small airport in West Fargo and because they would be a mutual aid response in the event that we did have an airline incident. So it's just something we're wrapping up this fall and it'll be continuing to next spring with Fargo and Mormon.
And in November, I was invited out to attend the Air National Guard briefing at the Pentagon on Tuesday, November 14th, which will be a meeting day. Consider possibly meeting on November 13th, that Monday, or Thursday, November 16th. We'll send out whether that's possible, and possibly join virtually, if that's necessary as well.
The only other thing, tomorrow, 1:45? 12:45. 12:45, Senator Hoban and staff here in Israel.
Yes.
And the purpose is, again, just to provide Senator Hoban and his staff that were not able to attend kind of an update on the project. And hopefully, Steve Horton will have everything. And a presentation on our funding sources at this point.
Not for tomorrow, it's for Tom Showers.
Yeah. But what we want to do is allow Senator Hoban and the staff to look at where we're anticipating funding, where we have secured funding, if there are other funding sources that will become available, and what we may have to do to access those. And so the Senator also may have other questions or suggestions. So all of us, it will be a public meeting.
We'll probably announce that today.
Hopefully we have enough room in here. We don't have an RSVP yet. And city commission and mayors are invited.
I will be there for sure. I think the mayor will too, I believe.
Oh, good. So that will take place tomorrow.
Chief Noyes, is there a way for us to view or?
If anyone is interested, I need the names of whoever wants to come over so I can get it to security forces as well, prepare that through them.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll release, we'll be taking video and photos.
Okay. All right. Good luck. I hope it all goes well.
Any other items?
I had a few.
Yes, okay.
I just made a few notes on, it seems like we've got some unfinished business that, not to address today, but could we maybe work on checking some of this stuff off? We've talked or, visited about doing some employee recognition. That seems to I'd like to reopen that conversation. The CFO hiring. We had the trip to Sioux Falls, a couple of the board members don't wanna participate in that, I still think it would be really important. So I know I'm gonna go, whether I just drive myself or if anybody else would like to go.
When is that again?
We don't have a date.
He gave
Keep me
the
posted.
dates. Yeah, the airport director gave the dates he's not available, so therefore you pick whatever date you want to go on and we'll go.
I think it's important to see what our other regional similar sized airports are doing. Survey results on parking is, Greg's not still on, but it would be nice if we could see the results of those surveys maybe monthly, just email. Let's see, Rick Berg had a business aviation thing, I was gonna ask him to do an update, but it would be interesting to hear feedback other than, like he mentioned about the small debris in the air. If there's anything else that we can be aware of to facilitate our corporate aviation group here at the airport. When I go to the roundtable in Kentucky, I'm going to do a presentation. So if there's any specific topics or questions that the board is particularly interested in, or any research or anything that I can do, as I'm gonna be kind of the eyes and ears of our airport. And then I think we still need to get the employee parking numbers by group, probably like how many people are currently utilizing our employee parking, if in case we would have to relocate them temporarily.
Right, so.
Whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, let me just run
Sorry.
through this, so, perhaps for the next agenda item, employee recognition, and I think that tied into, Pro Resources, our HR group, providing recommendation or discussion about employee performance, reviews. So we need to get them back on the agenda. I've had some email exchanges with them, and indication from them that they've read a recent journal article that says employee performance reviews aren't necessary, so we should bring them back and start that, and also look at the employee recognition. The CFO, I believe, again, that would be Pro Resources, bringing the job description back at this point and starting the process, so we'll include that. Sioux Falls trip, we'll continue to work on that. Parking surveys, just indicating to SB Plus, have them forward that. Again, from an outside board member, the number one item that I'm asked and told about is parking. And complaints about parking and problems, so I think we all need to be aware of that. And we'll ask Rick to do update on the business aviation. And he gave us a very impromptu look at that, but there's a big portion of the business aviation that's kind of below the radar, so to speak, and it does have a big impact. We have Kentucky presentation, and then Joan, I know at one point they provided me a list of who has the parking passes in the employee area. That's something that we should share with all the board members at this point, as to probably more than just the name that it says, Bill Smith parking pass, why that pass is issued. Is it
Like subway
airline
employees
employee or vendor or whatever, so.
And then the one more thing sorry, I missed it on my list. I think we need to revisit our emergency communications, because we had started to kind of dive into making sure that we have a great partnership with Flint and with the city of Fargo, and we know who's got what responsibilities, and clarify that a little bit. So maybe Greg wanted to do
Wasn't that Flint really wasn't part of the emergency?
So Madison County he's working with Brandon, the city's emergency manager, on whatever he felt he wanted in our plan, which has to be approved by the FAA. I'm not sure they'll let it in, whatever he was looking for. So that's in progress as of, I spoke to her last week.
Okay, maybe just a update for the board to let us know where we stand on that too.
All right,
Thank you for
yeah.
allowing me
Motion to
that
approve.
long list.
Motion to approve,
I motion, or I move.
second. We can,
No, we don't move.
so I guess we can,
Rick, would you like to second my motion to adjourn?
I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.